Let's find a payday in the plains with our best bets for when NASCAR goes racing this weekend at Kansas Speedway. It's a brand new episode of the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race is.
Stay from the stage.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Backroad. It's In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. My name's Elliot Hicks. With me is Seth Woolcock. The NASCAR is heading to Kansas this weekend, out to the Heartland. It's going to be a fun one, Seth.
Absolute pleasure to be back with you on the Backroad tonight, Elliot. Texas was good to us once again. Now we're heading back to another mile-and-a-half track, arguably the best mile-and-a-half track on the circuit, Kansas Speedway. Got a little bit of a smaller card for you, but a good card to give out on today's program. And man, life's really good right now, dude. We've been swinging a really hot bat when it comes to NASCAR betting. In addition, things are ripping here at IBT, and both you and I have some pretty fun stuff happening this summer in our personal life. Only way I think things could get any better right now, man, is like every time I go to the beer distributor lately, cannot get the Busch Light apple, cannot get my hands on it. They've had the signs. They say it's apple season. I ain't got no apple. Other than that, though, life's great, buddy.
Hey, you gotta make the trek elsewhere. I was able to stock up. You'll find it somewhere. Beautiful summer for some good beverages and beautiful summer for some good betting too. I don't think there's an argument that Kansas is the best mile-and-a-half track out there, if not the best track in NASCAR right now with the next gen. It's going to be fun to watch. Any week that we both come out in the green is good, and hopefully we can keep it rolling. We'll look back in the rear view in a little bit here at Texas, give you a little bit of a news update and look at our biggest surprises and disappointments through the first, about third of the season, 11 races through. Then our Horizon forecast breaks down the Kansas weekend, and we give you the parking garage props, our best bets for the Cup and the truck races this weekend at Kansas. And well, like we said, small card for you, pretty big card for me, but there's even more to be dug up in the IBT Racing Family Discord. Just $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. That's less than $1 per race. It gives you exclusive weekly betting model access. And the model this week, it is bigger than it's ever been. There are so many stats packed into that thing to give you the best edge here at Kansas. You get to chat with all of us, myself, Seth, Rod Villagomez, Ryan from myfantasyrace.com, and the rest of the IBT family. Gives you entry into memorabilia giveaways as well. You can get the link in the episode description to that, as well as to the audio version streaming on Apple Podcasts. And if you want to listen to us on good old-fashioned terrestrial radio, shout out to Talkin' West Tennessee, 101.5 FM down in West Tennessee, 8 p.m. on Saturday nights this airs. Links to all that in the episode description. Shout out to everybody who's listening and watching. Give us the like and subscribe on YouTube if you enjoy what you're seeing. And be ready next week, too. We're anticipating a Wednesday evening show, probably around the same time, 8:30, for the North Wilkesboro All-Star Race and the Truck Series.
Yeah, couple things in there. First of all, again, shout out Western Tennessee. If you guys are anything like us up here in Western PA, we'll be friends. We'll be friends. You guys will hopefully enjoy some of the madness that comes down on the back road. And yes, Wednesday, we got a Wednesday show next week. Thursday, you're doing stuff. You're in the middle of some stuff. And then I have a wedding next Thursday, which I don't know why you put a wedding on a Thursday night, but I'm here for it. I'll be out there boot scooting, boogieing on the dance floor, maybe a couple Busch Light apples if I can find them by then. So yes, Wednesday night, we will be live. And tonight, want to shout out everyone in the chat. Marcus, I mean, this is the dedication of our fans, Elliot. Marcus in here well before noon, 10:57 a.m., saying he's predicting Chris Bell to go win Kansas. He already has a couple polls out here in the plains as well. So Marcus, shout out for you getting in early. Also, 3:00 p.m., Kush was ready to go, going with number 5, Larson, to win this week. I'm with you there, Kush. I like that. We'll talk about him a little bit later. And then Stan saying Gibbs gets his first win on Sunday. A little long shot action there for our boy Stan. And then Donald doubling down on the 45. Elliot, we have some of the best listeners out there, man. And every single week they're making it a race just to get here. So we appreciate them, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Shout out to everyone in the chat before, during, and after as well, listening afterward. Go ahead and throw your predictions into the comments too. We'll be watching.
Please.
And that'll certainly be fun to watch. those are all pretty good picks. Our commenters are very knowledgeable. Our listeners are very knowledgeable. Our Discord members very knowledgeable as well. We'll get to all that, but first we got to take a look back in the rear view. Well, Texas was a triple header weekend, and they certainly were enjoyable. They become a little fewer and further between as the summer goes on. Truck Series takes like a month off there from July to August. But anyway, we'll get to that when we get there. The Truck Series race in Texas, Corey Heim able to hold on and win it in double overtime. The Truck Series hadn't had an overtime race in 20-some races, which you wouldn't expect out of maybe the craziest beating and banging series that we got. Anyway, Corey Heim, the best truck, does win that race. In Xfinity, Kyle Larson subbing in for Connor Zilic. Of course he did. Gets the win. But Justin Allgaier looked like the best car until Chris Wright pulled a little lap car nonsense and took him out. And in the Cup Series, a race that had a lot of attrition, a lot of comers and goers, ends up with Joey Logano getting, I believe, on paper, his first top 5 finish, getting the victory and getting himself back into the playoffs after winning last year's championship.
Yeah, man. Texas is one of those tracks. The further we go with it, we kind of have to start betting it kind of similar to Super Speedway where you're taking long shots, because just listen to some of these top 10 numbers out here. Elliott Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 6th. Austin Dillon, 7th. John Hunter Nemechek, 8th. Daniel Suarez, 10th. Like, there are a lot of guys that you got some long numbers out there. Eric Jones, 5th. But overall, like, I think Texas is kind of coming into its own a little bit. You saw the packed crowd. They're obviously doing some great work down there in the marketing side of things. And while there is some attrition and words we can't say about this race, it was a fun race at the same time, at least more fun than last 4 or 5 races we've seen. We've been at super speedways. We've been at some short tracks. I had a lot of fun with this, man, and really, really nice weekend for us overall. But before we get into the bets, what was just your overall standpoint on the racing at Texas? Because I think it's improving. It's still sketchy as heck, right? Still 3 and 4. You got the bump there that kind of sends everything into chaos, but still fun nonetheless, even though there is some recklessness to it.
Yeah, and I understand people's gripes about still being pretty hard to pass, hard to make passes for the lead, but it definitely was racier than we've seen the last couple of weeks. You were able to make moves if you had a good enough car. But yes, I really thought that Texas could be grouped in almost exactly the same to every other mile and a half. I said it, I was really heavy on Chris Bell last week because, or at least I would, he was my primary outright because he was running well in the other mile and a halves. Didn't really show up. You guys were certainly more on it with some of your picks. So definitely a big lesson to take there is that Texas is certainly its own unique track. Betting it like a super speedway, you had me there for a second. I was like, what in the world are you talking about? But it's saying that in terms of just taking the long shots, definitely a way to go, because we saw it, like you said, even Logano to win, probably a longer number than we would normally have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. We hit Logano top 4 at plus 475. I don't even know what Logano's outright number was. It was probably 16, maybe 20, I think you were probably getting. But I thought he could squeak out a top 4 there, had a half unit on that. So that was awesome. And speaking of kind of some of that attrition as well, all race, man, my biggest bet of the weekend was Ross Chastain minus 135 over Kyle Busch. That looked like a dead bet from Saturday morning. That was not a good bet. And then with Kyle Busch end up wrecking out there at the end, we not only had this Ross Chastain over Kyle Busch we cashed, but at the same time, we had a live 28-1 Ross Chastain going down there, man. That was crazy to get that little bit of a sweat out of the end and still knowing I'm cashing my biggest bet of the weekend too. That was a lot of fun on Sunday and kind of just points to some of the craziness. Blaney did some questionable things in this race. I think, not taking that front row to put McNasty out there. We didn't talk about McNasty. This guy almost went out and won this race, man. He had an absolute rocket and was out there on 2 tires, getting a little crazy with it. And Kyle Larson, just consistent all day. I don't think he had a great card, but was kind of just hanging out in the front all day.
Yeah, you're right. Shout out to Michael McDowell, especially. Takes the 2-tire call, went out and nearly earned it. Just one too many restarts, makes a big block and ends up losing control. But you got to go for the wins when you get a chance. I mean, he's doing all right in points, but it's a situation where everyone is expecting 12, 13, 14 winners and only the top of the top getting in on points. You got to go for wins when you get a shot. Chastain too, man. I was excited about that. That P2 run really saved my card because I jumped on after you guys were so high. You guys were heavy on Chastain. I hopped on the top 10 and the top Chevy, hit them both, that really
Oh,
saved
you had
my
the
card.
top. The top
That-
Chevy was a nice one. I looked at that after I saw that on your card in the Discord. Another great reason to get over there. I was
Yep.
like, oh, top Chevy. I didn't even think about that. Nice, man. Good work.
Yep, I was able to get that at 12-1, top 10, just over even money. Bubba Wallace over Denny Hamlin. They both ended up DNF, but luckily Denny's motor blew up before Bubba made his silly move, let's say. And then I hit multiple bets in the lower series too. Had the Larson Xfinity outright, which was the easiest bet I've ever made. Harrison Burton back into the top 10 over there. And then the truck series, Rod and I both real high on Tyler Ankrum. I don't know if you've given much of an Ankrum opinion, but you got to hop on because this kid is running like crazy. Top 5 again at plus 275. And another one that was just who wrecked out first. Brandon Jones, thankfully, gets to the garage a little later than Caden Honeycutt in that truck race and hits that bet. And hey, journalism in the Kentucky Derby. P2, I had the win race. That helped boost my card a little bit as well.
Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend of betting. First of all, I got to shout out my guy Mike Somich from Racing Dudes. I had him on the Betting Pros podcast last week, Elliot, for Kentucky Derby. This guy had absolute gainers. He hit sovereignty. He was also was throwing out absolute rippers. He helped someone in the audience hit a 300-1 ticket over the weekend. So like he's a superfectus. He was absolutely hammering him. So shout out to Mike over there. And shout out to these lower series, man. Like I love betting lower series 1.5 miles. I think that's where I've really locked in. Like Ryan Sieg, I had the top 10 on him -140. And it's like, if you're just like the numbers were so clear, like you bet Ryan Sieg anything under -150 for the top 10. Sam Mayer, top 5 +120. I got that for 2.5 units as well. That was a great cash because it was like, again, Sam Mayer won Texas last year. He's been really good there. So that was great. And then like I hit the Corey Heim outright on Friday +165. Got a little dicey there for a second at the end. I was a little worried. And I think the reason I haven't been on Tyler Ankrum like you and Rod have is I bet him like week 1 and week 2 and he burned me. and then I went away from it. But I think we have a lot to be proud of last week, not trying to pat ourselves on the back because the most important week is this week and making some money down in Kansas. But, we hit that right on Friday with my Heim call. You were all over Larson again there on Saturday. And then we both hit a bevy of bets on Sunday, including Rod as well.
Yeah, certainly a good weekend for the cards. And hey, those 2 super speedways may have burned Ankrum top 10 in every single race since. So go ahead and join us. We want to squad ride on a lot of different bets. That's certainly one that we can too.
What's the like nickname for like Tyler Ankrum fans? Is there a nickname you could think of? The Yankees? Like what are we thinking?
Yankees. Be careful, Seth. We don't know. You can't just be throwing stuff out there like that. We don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think the kid has a big enough fan base to have a name.
Well, let's start one.
Shout out to all the Tyler Ankrum fans. Funny enough, guess who's not on my truck card later in the show? I will be adding the Ankrum top 5, and I'll make a note of that when I get the chance. Before we get there, though, we've been able to hit a lot of bets this year on some of the same guys. We have surprises and disappointments for the season so far. Seth, you did a great job picking these out, but I'll certainly introduce them all and we can chat about them. First surprise, and maybe the most pleasant, is Austin Cindric in that Penske number 2 car. P14 in the points, and that's even after a 50-point penalty for doing something a little bit silly at COTA, and was able to finally lock down the Talladega win. Big-time season seeing the Penske driver really start to come into his own a few years into the Cup Series.
Dude, and we saw this like kind of at the end of last season, and we all questioned ourselves, like, is this legit? Because we saw it before when he made the playoffs earlier in his career, dude. Like, this is kind of just the type of guy he is. He can get hot. He can do it not only at your super speedways where he is, again, the best super speedway racer in the next gen era. It's not close when it just comes down to who's out there and in position to win races there. He used to be a really good road course racer. We haven't seen that this season as he obviously got that penalty with Ty Gibbs back on the road course there down in Texas. But he's been showing up at these 1.5 miles lately as well and had a lot of speed again down in there in Texas, won stage 1. So he's going to continue and get playoff points as well, dude. This is someone that the books are starting to catch on a little bit. We're not getting great numbers on, but I've been playing him in fantasy a lot, and he's been really good for my lineup. So Austin Cindric has been sensational, and I think we can safely say like it's pretty legit. Like who would you rather have? Like rest of season, let's just say fantasy rest of season, Austin Cindric, Ty Gibbs. I think I would easily want to have Austin Cindric, right?
Yeah, I mean Cindric has proven it. If Ty Gibbs and JGR as a whole run a little better, as the summer goes on, maybe. But yeah, I'm certainly taking Cindric. I almost wonder if maybe the next gen is the cause for him not being so good on road courses anymore. Ran really well in Xfinity and in the Cup Series in limited starts in 2021 before the next gen, but just hasn't worked out the same. But yeah, super speedway king for sure. Able to take the checkered flag there at Talladega. And we kind of saw this last year in the playoffs. He was able to get in via kind of a lucky win at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway down near St. Louis. And he was really one of those guys. I remember Cindric, Suarez, and Bowman, all guys that were really looked past in that first round. They all dominated, and I think they all locked themselves in on points mid-Bristol race in that first round there. Didn't work out so well, of course, for any of them in the round of 12. But Cindric definitely coming into his own there. And another Penske-powered car that has really surprised a lot of us this season, Josh Berry in the number 21, taking over for Harrison Burton. They've shown speed like it's a fourth Penske car, which we always kind of knew the Wood brothers were. You know, Ryan Blaney ran that year, got a win for them out of Pocono. Then it was kind of middling results here. Paul Menard's, Matt DiBenedetto's, Harrison Burton's of the world. You get a real wheelman like Josh Berry. That's no disrespect to either of those three guys, but it really just shows how good that Josh Berry is. Got the win at Vegas, an upset win, but certainly not a backed into win. They earned it. And on every track type, except for road courses, as we've talked about with Berry before, he may be the worst road course driver in the Cup Series. But everywhere else, I love betting this 21 car.
Yeah, man, he has been sensational this season. And honestly, like you said, I don't know if we expected it to be this good. And I think like the thing is you look at Berry and he's still 20 plus in the points, but it's not because he hasn't had speed. Last week at Texas, great example, was running out front, qualified very well. What was up there was Cindric, honestly, like leading that race for a good portion of the beginning stage, and then just fell back and got into trouble when he got back there. And like, that's kind of been the same thing happened at Martinsville earlier this season. It happened right after his Las Vegas win at Homestead as well. So yeah, man, I'm all about what Josh Berry's been doing right now. And he's someone we certainly have to pay attention to pretty much on all track types aside from the road courses for sure. So it's a great story too. We've talked about it. You know, a guy who met another one of these guys who met Dale Jr. iRacing online, comes down to Charlotte, starts working in that shop, goes from a mechanic to a guy who's behind the wheel of their late model car, works his way into Xfinity, works his way into Cup. Just a sensational grassroots story that we're going to see play out in real time here in 2025.
Yeah, man, who would have thought first week of May, 3 out of the 4 Penske-powered cars have wins, and Ryan Blaney is the one who isn't. Pretty wild stuff there.
Dude, wow. If you would have told me that at the beginning of the season, you would have saved me a lot of money. I'll tell you that much. That's for sure, buddy.
Hey, Blaney's going to get one here soon. Berry, just one of those guys who you give a guy a chance in a good car, and he is really going to turn it on. And we've seen that with Ryan Preece, too, running in the 3rd RFK Racing, number 60 this year. He's all the way at 18th in points. He's right on that playoff cut line. Better than we expected from him, and better than we expected from a 3rd RFK car that has kind of struggled at points even into this year with the 6 and the 17, the 2 mainline cars. 3 top 10s for the 60 this year, had a P3 back at, I think it was Vegas, led a bunch of laps at Phoenix on the option tire strategy. Would be even better in points if not for the P2 disqualification at Talladega a couple of weeks ago. Preece really has been a revelation in the 60 car and a guy who might have a chance at getting into the playoffs and getting into the winner's circle before the regular season's over.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you were to say rest of the season, which car do you want out of this stable? I mean, we know it's not Brad Keselowski. We'll talk about him later. Chris Buescher's looked really good at times. Chris Buescher fast at Texas. He had a little bit of a rocket. I thought that maybe there was a chance that he was going to come home for some tickets. I saw some people out on the internet were pretty high on him, but yeah, dude, something about Ryan Preece. I think we all like this is like post hype sleeper status, right? We talk about that a lot in fantasy football, and like Ryan Preece, when he got into that SHR car, I was really high on him. Like I really liked Ryan Preece. I like that he, sat out the year that he needed to, waited his turn at SHR, and then it just didn't work out when he got in that ride. And as he said, 18th in the points right now. And if it weren't for that penalty, he'd be right there. That disqualification, he'd be right there up with Chris Buescher. So yeah, I like what Ryan Preece has been doing a lot. Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, rest of the season, go.
Buescher, just because
okay.
He's I don't Ryan
road
Preece
courses too.
Yeah, road courses. Preece is more borderline with the race winning speed, but I like them both, and you're right. I certainly like him both more than the owner there. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Talk a little about Chris Buescher too. I thought he might have been on my card. I do bring him up in the betting article that'll come out in the morning. Gives you a preview of our model, our top 10, tells you what the stats are that are broken down in there. If you still need convincing, which by this point, 11 races in, I certainly hope you guys don't need any more convincing, but you'll look for that tomorrow morning on the site, where I also pick a couple of selected outrights. But anyway, enough with the plug, more with some more surprises. I'll kind of group these guys together, but we will talk about them individually because they deserve the flowers. AJ Allmendinger, back in the number 16 this year full-time. We said when he got that car, hey, AJ Allmendinger deserves to be in Cup. We said when he got booted from that car, won the Roval, had to go back to Xfinity, hey, AJ Allmendinger deserves to be in the Cup Series. He's back this year, and he has shown AJ Allmendinger deserves to be in the Cup Series. Kaulig has been better. AJ Allmendinger has been good. They've had good runs on surprising tracks. And he's a guy, especially with his road course prowess, he's someone that certainly could be someone to watch on multiple different track types throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, dude. And the thing I love about AJ Allmendinger from a betting perspective as well, Elliot, that he shows up when he's supposed to show up. Homestead. Everyone knew, like everyone and their mother knew that Homestead, he usually is fast there. What's he do? He shows up with an absolute rocket, goes out there and just gets the most out of his Kaulig equipment, man, and cashes that top 10 ticket. I know you were on it that week. I was like, oh, I can't bet a 2-1 on it. Like, I need a better number. And you're like, hey, sometimes you just got to do it. And you were right on that. And it's so funny too, because the season could not have started off on a worse note for AJ Allmendinger. And I think part of why I didn't want to get on him back when we were there in Homestead was because Daytona 500 blows up 42 laps into the season, engine failure. And all right, like last place finish, 41 out of 41. We got to start out here, even behind Helio Castroneves and that whole squad out there. So it's been an uphill battle, but 14th at Atlanta, Phoenix top 20 run, Las Vegas top 10 run, Homestead top 10 run, Bristol top 10 run. He's showing up when he needs to. Obviously didn't have the best luck down there in Texas again, but another guy who started top 10 and just kind of crashed out late in this one. So I would expect AJ Allmendinger to like honestly be on some betting cards when we're heading back to some of these road courses, because we're going to talk about it later, but I don't know if Kaulig has that much worse equipment at this point than Trackhouse. They might have better equipment. I think Kaulig as a whole has just been so impressive, man. Like, we have to give their flowers to him because we absolutely poo-pooed on them for the good part of 2 years. Other than, we always know, like, Matt Kaulig, dude, that guy is absolutely jacked. He's properly yoked. We have given that guy his flowers, but not his organization. So I'm glad we're doing that tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Allmendinger, a guy that does deserve the flowers, as does Ty Dillon. And I would never thought I would have said that. He's a guy that has been the butt of many a joke here on the Backroad over the years, if you've paid attention. Yeah, the point standings, he's not super impressive. He's down at 30th in the points, but he's been P16 or better on 5 separate occasions this year. He's a guy who I really thought both him and the second Kaulig car were going to be just a moving chicane more than anyone else. But I think that added support from RCR, because this guy happens to be in the 10 car. Again, I don't want to rag on him too much, but I've gotten to the point where he deserves this Cup Series ride, and I would not have thought I'd have even gone that far with Ty Dillon when he last was in Cup out of that 77 car a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, no top 10s this season, but I mean, just how consistent he's been. And like, I don't understand how he's so good. And maybe it's the next gen car. He just has something with it, but he's so much better in the next gen car than he is in a truck, than in an Xfinity car. Like he is really good at this car compared to what we've given him. 14th at Daytona. Okay, that's fine. Anyone can do that. Phoenix top 16, Las Vegas 21st, Homestead 27th. Like he's had only one race this season worse than 30th, man. Like you would have not expected that. Last week at Texas 12th, Darlington 16th, Martinsville 15th. Like this guy's running off top 20 finishes. He's been excellent for fantasy lineups, whether you're playing over there on Fan Tracks, whether you're doing daily lineups in DraftKings. He's been fantastic there, and like so much to the point where we're heading out this week, man. And like there's a 27-1 Ty Dillon top 10 that I might just entertain, just for a little S&Gs. But so yeah. I really like Ty Dillon, and I can't believe that, because I mean he looks better than a good 6 or 7 drivers right now, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's true. It's tough for him to get on my betting card, but like I said, I have drivers that are lower in the points that are on my season-long betting card. Goes back to the point I meant to make when we were talking about Allmendinger. I was going
Oh,
to make the exact same point you did about SVG and Trackhouse. Again, we'll talk more about him later. But the way that the 88 is running on these ovals, he's showing nothing. And the way that it worked out at Coda wasn't the best car there for SVG. So Allmendinger certainly could be on more of the road course
yeah.
cars. Mexico is not too far away. Neither
Yep.
is neither are some of these other Chicago
The
Street
Roval.
Course.
I'll be
Roval in the playoffs. That's the thing. If he can pull off a win
yeah.
at one of those places, he's got the Roval lined up for him in the playoffs. We thought the same thing about SVG in the Xfinity playoffs last year. And a guy who's won in Allmendinger, he's won that race before, not in the playoffs, but went out there and won that in 2023. So certainly a guy that could get it done. A win for Ty Dillon would be a little much, but just the fact that he's going to continue, I think, to have a respectable enough season. He's almost like a cat with 9 lives. Germain Racing kind of flamed out. He had some Joe Gibbs Xfinity rides a couple of years ago just to try to get something. Those went terribly. Ends up still coming back. Truck Series with 77. This guy's been around the world, honestly, in NASCAR and in a pretty decent ride, having pretty decent results. So I'll give Ty Dillon his flowers too, man.
Resilient, very, very resilient. Cool story. So hopefully he can continue to prove he's more than just a back marker in this series. Couple of things I wanted to address. First of all, we got a shout out from our guy Bob Bodner in the chat saying go Ty. 500 to 1 on the outright if you want it, Elliot. All right,
talk to me when we get to Atlanta or maybe Daytona.
Yeah, a little moonshot there for our guy Bob. And then we also have Club in the chat saying good analysis when talking about Preece and Barry. But they have likely overachieved in this first third of the season, meaning probably going to have some negative regression reverting to the medium. Barry at least will make the playoffs. Do you think there's maybe any while we're kind of on this topic, Elliot, of these guys we've talked about, all these overachievers are Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, Ryan Preece, AJ Allmendinger, Ty Dillon. If there's someone that you expect out of this group to regress to the mean a little bit, like our guy Club in the chat is saying, who do you think it is?
Man, I mean, honestly, they all will to an extent kind of regress a little bit. I don't think we're going to see Austin Cindric run up front every week. Barry and Preece, I kind of thought they would be 1 to 2 week flashes in the pan. But I think they're guys that they're not going to be every week contenders up at the front, like especially with Barry on the road courses. Why even put him out on the track? Just withdraw that 21 car.
He got pretty cold. Barry also got pretty cold towards the end of last season. I mean, part of that was probably SHR falling apart and running on shoestrings, right? But at the same time, he was a guy who's been known to get cold during that summer slump a little bit. So just kind of something to keep in mind. He would probably be my pick for someone who I think could get cold, maybe heat back up around the playoff time once we get back to some shorter tracks.
Yeah, and I think Colleague in general, I don't think they're going to have a contention for a win other than the super speedways and road courses. So they may be running on the mean, and just the running on the mean mid-pack is good enough for them. That's the beauty of it, though. Even if Barry regresses to the mean, he just has to rebuild for the playoffs at this point. Try and get a couple playoff points, get in there as the 10 seed. And anything that you do in the playoffs is going to be a plus for them. And Preece is the kind of guy, it just takes one good weekend, man. And we've seen that this year. Takes one good weekend, gets you in the playoffs. Certainly could happen for Ryan Preece.
Certainly agreed.
All right, so we've talked the surprises. We've already kind of alluded to all the disappointments, but let's crack them open. The biggest one, for sure, Brad Keselowski in the 6. 32nd in the point standings. No top 10s for the number 6. Had speed in maybe 2 races this year, conservatively. Races that we thought he would have had a shot to win. Daytona 500, relatively uneventful. I can't remember what happened to him in that race, which means it must not have been good. Talladega, everyone. Brad Keselowski, man, this is his time. This is his shot. Crashes trying to get onto pit road in stage 1 on the first green flag pit stop. Texas, a place where Keselowski, we thought that he could run pretty well. Didn't work out for him. I believe he ended up involved in an accident, DNFing there as well. It has not been a good year for Brad. I wonder if this is just some kind of bad luck for him. Maybe he's a little over the hill. Maybe the owner and the driver coming together. Not as much time to go behind the wheel. Or honestly, maybe it just shows how good Buescher and Preece are, and Brad is just running to the capability of the RFK cars, because it wasn't that long ago that this was about where the Roush cars were running.
Yeah, like I don't think there's a lack of speed in these cars compared to a lot of other teams. Like, again, I think they're probably like a top 16 team on speed, or, should have cars inside the top 16. Some of it has been bad luck, right? Crashes out at Atlanta, crashes out at Phoenix, crashes out at Talladega, crashes out at Texas. So, there's 4 DNFs right there that really aren't his fault in the 11 races. But then, like Bristol, 16th, like that's a place you expect Brad to show up. Darlington was not a factor at Darlington whatsoever as well. Like, if you have gone out of your way to fade Brad Keselowski, and like the books are still offering matchups against him almost regularly. Sometimes it's against just Chris Buescher, which I'll gladly take most weeks as well. Sometimes, like last week, I know our guy Rod on the program, he faded him against Ross Chastain, which you know was a little iffy at times at the beginning of that race, but Brad did what Brad did, man. Like, I'm not totally shocked by this by any means, just because Elliot, like, I came into the season with him outside my playoff predictions, but I am shocked that he's 30 plus in points and we're 11 races in, right? Like, you can only dig yourself out of a hole so far. Is it must win territory for Brad now? 32nd, you think, in points?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's going to take a really, really big effort to get him in there. And for Keselowski, if you can humor me, crack open the silly season can. Let's pretend this Busch Light is my silly season can here. Going to crack that open. Keselowski, a guy again, over the hill a little bit, definitely getting a little older. Definitely knows that he's got his future secured in this sport as the owner, primary owner, manager of RFK Racing. There's a lot of guys in Cup that are going to be kind of moving and shaking. Some guys that we're expecting are going to be out of rides. There's a lot of talent locked in Xfinity and Truck because Cup guys have had staying power. Guys, just to speculate, there's Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer, young guys over in the Haas factory team in the Ford camp. Ford doesn't even have much of a development program because they know that Chevy and Toyota overload themselves, and they're really good drivers in those development programs. Maybe they've got nowhere to go. If Brad can kind of set aside driver Brad and pick up on owner Brad a little bit.
He can't go out like this, though.
Here's what I don't think he goes out like this. I think this year he realizes, hey, man, this did not go the way we wanted to. I'm assuming they don't win. I'm assuming he finishes 23rd in the points, let's say. Maybe he has a couple respectable runs. Maybe he looks close. I don't think he's going to get in the playoffs. I think next year, Brad gets his flowers. He gets his retirement tour. Hey, I'm done after this year, and I'm signing young, high-potential driver A, B, C, or D to come drive this 6 car when I'm out. And to add on with Buescher and Preece, they're two guys who obviously Brad Keselowski likes a lot. We've both talked them up within the last 10 minutes on this show. I think that's probably what happens with Brad. We're seeing the end of it here. A guy that certainly could go out and win, but definitely a disappointment. And I think we've seen the last of bad Brad, top Brad, champion Brad in the Cup Series.
Now it's just bad Brad, right? Now it's just it's stinky Brad. Yeah.
We're going to see plenty more of bad Brad if you look at it that way.
Yeah. I think he'll at least come back for one more year. Doesn't want to go out like this. And I think we haven't seen the last Brad Keselowski win. I don't think it yet, but I think maybe there's one left out there somewhere, but maybe not. I don't think this year. Maybe
he announces the retirement tour, goes out, gets his Daytona 500. And we've seen guys go out like this. I mean, Kevin Harvick didn't win in his last year and a half, I believe.
Truex in it, yeah.
Truex didn't win his last year and a half. Guys don't always go out on top. Jimmy Johnson.
Junior.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson. Those are guys who didn't win for multiple years.
Did Jeff win? Jeff won last year, yeah.
So Jeff got kind of championship 4 in his last year.
Well, don't tell people that. Don't start that, Elliot. Come on, brother. Come on.
Well, Jeff got a little lucky that Matt Kenseth had a certain vendetta against Joey Logano, 2015 Fall Martinsville.
Yeah. We don't need to.
Anyway, point is.
That's a different part of NASCAR YouTube, brother. I don't want to go there.
All right. Another disappointment. We got Cole Custer. We've been talking about how both Preece and Josh Berry, guys who did not run well in SHR, now Haas factory team. We were definitely a little worried about this team coming into this year. We know Cole Custer's got some talent. You weren't that worried, but there had to be a little bit in you when you put that championship future. You're like, there's no way he's actually going to come anywhere close, right? But you hope that he pulls off a win somewhere. They've run like complete garbage. 34th in points, no top 10s. Haven't seen him do anything relevant after getting crashed on the last lap of the Daytona 500. It just has not been the season that the 41 team wanted. Haas factory team, they've downsized enough to the point where they are a back marker.
I'm stunned on it. Like I am actually surprised just because like Cole Custer was so decent in Xfinity these last couple of years. And like, I just thought coming down to one team, they still had 4 cars worth of notebooks at all these next gen tracks for 3 years on it. So it's like, not like they don't know what they're doing. It's like the same people are in the building. His dad's running the team. Like they're getting help from RFK. The crew chief said before the season, like, oh, it feels just like I'm still at RFK from last year. Well, apparently not. Apparently it does not at all because it's been bad, man. It's been really bad. And like, I didn't expect Cole Custer to be great, but I expected him to potentially be like a top 25 car. I think I had him 25th in my preseason rankings. And that was something where I thought I could maybe get a little, cash out value down the line on that 300-1 future. I mean, you might as well light that on fire and pour gasoline on it, or, feed it to the cats, whatever you got to do with it. It's over, man. It's been a nice run, unless he can get lucky at one of these, super speedways down the stretch. Cole Custer and this entire Haas factory team, things are not looking bright right now, man.
Yeah, Haas factory team 2025 running more like the old Haas CNC racing before Tony came in the mid 2000s. Quickly, we'll also touch on probably one of the biggest disappointments of all team-wise, Trackhouse Racing. They just have not had any speed off the truck this year. SVG all the way down 35th in points. That's more a guy acclimatizing to ovals. We'll almost kind of give him a pass, but he hasn't even really had a shot, even on the road course this year that we've been on. Daniel Suarez on and off, up and down, P25. Ross Chastain, good enough driver to get that car from being absolute garbage on Saturdays to drivable enough on Sundays. He's P11 in the points, almost won last week. But in general, not where Trackhouse wants to be multiple years into this project.
Yeah, dude. Like, honestly, there's a lot of issues here. First one is, you already noted it. SVG did not have legit speed when we were at the road course at Coda a couple months ago, right? Like, you could tell his car was not nearly as good as his competitors up there. And I think we all agree SVG is, like, if everything was equal, the best road course driver. Like, he looked better almost in colleague equipment at the end of last season when he got beat by Chris Buescher at a road course. So that was concerning, one. And then, Ross Chastain, he's had his issues at like Homestead last year, just had no speed at Homestead, came back to Homestead this year, did not have any speed. Some of these mile and a halves, Ross, like, yes, it's great that he is like top, still 11th in the points, does have 2 top 5s, does have 6 top 10s as well. So that's great. But a lot of those like have not been like running inside the top 10 a lot. It's been like finishes, but not average running position inside the top 10. So, and then he gets out of the car last week at Texas, P2, like, Ross, how you feeling after that? Like, and it's really almost like just felt like he took, sent a message to Justin Marks, like, hey, buddy, I'm bringing in Busch Light money. I'm bringing in legit sponsorship money to this organization. Like we need better equipment, because it's embarrassing the speed they have. And it's trickling right down to Daniel Suarez as well, who, he's shown up at some of the tracks we've known that Suarez was going to show up at. We liked him at Texas. I played him in fantasy last week at Texas, despite qualifying bad. But it's just, qualifying 25th, 24th, 23rd, 30th, 26th, 33rd, 23rd, 31st, like 29th, 36th, 5th. Like, those are Daniel Suarez's starts this year, man. Like, there's no speed in these cars. Like, this is the biggest disappointment right here, I think, honestly, other than Brad. But it is what it is there.
Yeah, it is really hard to make it up on Sundays when you don't have the speed on Saturdays. Big internet theory at the moment. Chastain, he's a better driver than this. Shouldn't he go to another team? I don't know if there's anywhere better for him to jump to, but that is a conversation for another day. I know we want to get into the bets here. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at Texas in the horizon forecast.
Real quick. Just wanted to shout out a couple of comments here as well. NASCAR Talk Channel saying, I swear Cole Custer does not exist. Yeah, that I feel that. Custer Crusher. Yeah.
Crusher of our betting cards if we've got
one. That's what I was about to say. I did bet him for a top 10 once this season too. So I've already drained more money with Custer than I need to. Club, here's a fun fact for this fun show, July 20th. It's the 5-year anniversary of RFK Racing. That's Dover. BK teams, the Monster FR.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Too bad we're not going to be at Dover like we were last year to see it, but certainly interesting there. We'll certainly look forward to looking to that when we get into the summertime. I don't know. I'm not down for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't expect him to be that good Dover for sure. Maybe Buescher. I could see Buescher winning Dover. Buescher's good on the concrete. NASCAR Talk also saying Kyle Busch, maybe an interesting play for Kansas here. So yeah, I don't hate Kyle Busch this week. I'm not fading him like I was last week. So guys, appreciate all the comments. So we're gonna go ahead. We'll open things up here, as Elliot said, in the Horizon forecast. But let us know who your biggest disappointments are below in the chat and the comments as well. After this video, we want to hear from you, and let us know. We also have some poll results here, Elliot. Cindric and Barry tied for 31% for their biggest surprising driver. Preece at 38%, and no votes for AJ Allmendinger. Wow.
Okay. Yeah, my apologies for trying to speed through that. Getting those poll results certainly important, and grateful for all you guys chiming in and being a part of the show. We certainly enjoy it. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Kansas, see how the Heartland is going to go in the Horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
All right, so the weekend in Kansas, Truck Series and Cup Series, as well as some ARCA too. Cup entry list has your 36 typical charters, plus Jesse Love in the 33 for RCR, as well as Corey Heim running for 2311 in that Robin Hood number 67 car you see on your screen there. A couple of guys who really are going to be the future of the Cup Series. Interesting that in Kyle Busch contract year, Jesse Love running some more Cup races, adding a couple of more to his schedule there in that 33. The way the weekend looks, starts off Friday. If you're into ARCA, 5 o'clock, the ARCA practice and qualifying, and at 8 o'clock, the ARCA race tied 150, 100 laps over there on FS1. Saturday, Truck Series practice and qualifying, 2:05 p.m. Eastern on FS2. You get the Cup practice and qualifying, 5:40 p.m. Eastern over there on Prime. Little evening quality there. Before 7:30 truck race, the Heart of Healthcare 200, 30-30-74, your stage lengths on FS1. Then on Sunday, the big show, the AdventHealth 400, starts around 3 o'clock on FS1. Stage lengths 80, 85, and 102 as we head to, as we said to top the show, arguably, if not you said arguably, I said the best 1.5 mile intermediate track in the Cup Series right now.
Yeah, man, this is a great track. It's a 1.5 mile intermediate track. iFantasyRace.com, they categorize this as really the sister track to Las Vegas. I think it drives a little bit better than Las Vegas because tire wear is more of a factor here. Also, kind of like a mini Michigan as well is what a lot of people put this as. There's a lot of debate when it comes to these comp tracks, though, Elliot. Like, you could put any of these as a primary comp. I think Las Vegas is the true primary comp. I think it is the sister track, but then you can group really all these secondary tracks. We were just at Texas last week, and then Charlotte as well, and then you can factor in Homestead, I think, this week as well, because that's a high tire wear intermediate. We're going to see some high tire wear here, and then Michigan, as I said, as well. Do you have any disagreements with those comps at all?
No disagreements at all. And I mentioned, too, breaking down the model in that article that'll be out in the morning. This is the perfect blend of everything I love. It's let's bring in the what have you done for me lately? We just went to Texas. We've already been to Homestead this year. We've already been to Vegas this year, along with the track and their comps. Like we said, Vegas, a track we've been to, primary comp. Kansas was a relatively recent race. If you go back to last year, middle of the playoffs, definitely a lot to pull from and a lot that makes me real confident in our bets, as we talked about earlier.
Agreed. Looking at some of the trends for Kansas Speedway, Christopher Bell is second all-time in average Kansas starting position, 8.2, and he's also the only active driver with an average starting position under double digits. Chris Bell has 4 Kansas Next Gen poles as well, 3 more than any other driver. William Byron has 1, Tyler Reddick has 1 as well, and Penske, Ellie, has not won a Kansas pole since 2018, so something to keep in mind. I'm not expecting Penske to be fast off the truck this weekend. Looking at the race itself and some trends for it, no driver has more than 1 next-gen Kansas win. Drivers that do have a Kansas next-gen win here include Denny Hamlin in 23, Ross Chastain in 2024, Tyler Reddick in 2023, and Bubba Wallace in 2022. Winners traditionally here are coming from the top 10, 83% of the time in the next-gen era, from the top 5, 50% of the time, never from the front row, though, interestingly enough. And outside the top 10, just one driver's done it 16.7% of the time here in the next-gen era. It was Ross Chastain. We had him on that ticket last year in Kansas. It was a little bit of a long shot. He came from the deepest in the field to win this in the next-gen since 2022 at P20 last fall.
Yeah, and it just shows, too, especially in the playoff races there with Chastain, it's part speed and part just making it through the attrition. We saw that last week at Texas. I believe the top 3 in that Texas race all started, I think, outside the top 20. I wish I had that stat in front of me, but that's something that does not happen very often. And if we do see Kansas have a similar level of attrition to how it did in the playoffs last year and to Texas last week, certainly could be something to watch. Just because you qualify outside the top 10, top 15 is not a death sentence to your race weekend.
Certainly agreed. What do you say we, right before we get in the bets here, we round out the Horizon forecast with the iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week. Who is it, Elliot? Who's that driver?
Yeah, shout out to iFantasy Race for the Asterisk Mark report every week. This week, Austin Cindric is our guy that we went with. Top 10 contender last fall at Kansas. Had multiple issues, finished P34 in that race. Definitely not how he ran, though. Started 17th, so like I said, pretty far back in the field, but no death sentence. Raced his way up to 7th in stage 1. Following his stage pit stop, had to pit twice, had a loose wheel, dropped him all the way to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Stage 2, lap 157, rebounds all the way back up to 13th, gets spun out and crashed, knocked to the back of the field. In terms of the total speed ranking, one of my favorite stats you can see in all of auto racing that I love for my fantasy race, he was P8 in those first 2 segments of the race before his problems really got started. Definitely a guy who was fast, definitely a guy who's been fast this year, that you can kind of write off his Kansas results from last fall.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually potentially interested in looking at Austin Cindric, but plus 170 is like the top 10 number for me. It's just a little short. But again, he had speed last week at Texas. Like I would almost rather bet Austin Cindric to win like stage 1 or something than to have like a good finish in this race. Because I just don't know if the long run speed will be there. He sometimes also gets in trouble at these tracks, as this iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark report driver of the week kind of points out here.
Yeah, talking about getting into trouble at intermediate races. Nashville, a little smaller. Last year, Nashville, it was Austin Cindric blowing a tire, spinning out with 2 to go. That started the crazy overtime.
That was what it was. Oh,
yeah.
my. I couldn't remember, like, you know me. I've had the back and forth relationship with this guy. You know, there's some, like, freezing cold takes, me talking on the internet about him. And he's come back and proved me wrong a couple times. But he also cashed a nice ticket this week or this year at Talladega. So I appreciate him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hey, if you go back through the show long enough, we're going to give flowers to every driver and we're going to talk crap on every driver. It happens. And it'll happen again this week, probably in our parking garage props as we open up the books for Kansas. In terms of impressions of the books this week, Seth, I'm glad you can give us a good opinion now that you stopped looking for Xfinity odds for a race that's going to happen this weekend.
Look, dude, it was a tricky week. They were out for me this week. And this is actually one of those races where I think, I'm preaching a little bit of patience here in some of these markets. I'm excited to see what kind of unloading we're going to get on Saturday evening there. It's short, man. It's short. And I really like Kyle Larson this week. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later, but plus 425 is a bit short. 7-1 for Blaney feels crazy. 8-1 for Tyler Reddick. William Byron plus 850. That's fine. Denny Hamlin plus 850. But I just think the top of this board's really, really short. But there is some value down in it a little bit. It just took a little bit of sifting through, I feel like, to find what I liked.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to bet on a guy like Larson this week, but definitely someone to watch. I feel like the model, we don't want to keep plugging the model, but we put the work in and it definitely looks good.
Mm-hmm.
We're able to find some value there with some really, really impressive drivers in the model there this week. That definitely helps us steer in one direction or the other.
Yeah, and I think it starts at the top here with our guy Alex Bowman in the outright market. He's on the thumbnail this weekend, and in a week where I wasn't really able to find a lot of value pre-flop in the outright market, there was one guy who stood above the rest, and it was Alex Bowman here at 25-1 outright at DraftKings. This has now been bet down to 18-1. I'd still take it over at FanDuel where it's 22-1. I'd look there for it potentially. But if you guys are in the Discord, we were talking about it when it was 25-1. What, Tuesday, Elliot? I'm like, why is this?
I still saw it at 25-1 this morning.
Yeah, so it's been moving those since. But Bowman third in the IBT projections this weekend, and one of the few drivers over a B- in their grade as well. So tied for second in Kansas Next Gen average finish with Kyle Larson, 7.2 in 5 races. He did miss that 2023 spring race, if you recall, due to injury, but he's never finished worse than top 10 in those 5 races in the Next Gen era. Just he and Denny Hamlin have done that, man. So last year specifically in these races at Kansas, 12th in average running position in the spring. He was then 4th in the fall. And at the comp tracks as well, he kind of passes the eye test there. You talked about it earlier. He had speed last week at Texas. He was one of the few cars that was actually moving up through the field and had any ability to pass. Got caught up a little bit, but still showed speed. And then also 11th best average running position at Vegas earlier this season, finished 7th. And most importantly, I think is that Homestead metric, right? Average running position of 3.7, finished second, best average run position in that race, man. So if you want to go to back to last season, Alex Bowman's been really, really good at all of these comp tracks. Recent form strong as well. Top 10 in 6 of 11 races, tied for 7th in total speed rankings at conventionals this season. So everything is saying Alex Bowman, go bet him, and he's the best value on the board in all markets this weekend, specifically the outright, though, at 25-1 at DraftKings.
Yeah, man. I mentioned it last week too, that it can be hard for people to get down with me on a Bowman bet, because I'm sure a lot of people think, well, he's a Bowman fan, of course he wants to bet Bowman. It's almost the opposite, because if I'm going to bet Bowman, I watch this team closer than any other team in the garage. I know when they're running hot. I know when it's going to be a good shot.
Same about Ross, yeah.
I'm glad that you got all the stats, you got everything to back it up there, so that I can provide some of the inside baseball and this is just fan service. I'm not going to listen to him. Listen to Seth, because this is good value this week. I mean, I threw the large, it's half because I'm confident, half because I'm the delusional fan. Largest I've ever put on an outright in terms of unit size is this outright at Kansas.
Wow.
Like I said, and it's bet down to, I think, even 1,600 on ESPN bet. And I put that much down at 2,200, and the odds went up from 22 to 25 on MGM. If it's bet down since then, whatever. Like you said, the 48, one of the best cars at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can pass on intermediates at all. That's the biggest problem on the next gen. 48 car drove from the mid-teens, maybe even 20th, gets up to P3 by the end of stage 2. Mm-hmm. Of course, the big thing here, and especially with outright, is pit problems. They had 2 pit stops, and they messed up on both of them. Puts him back to about 13th to start stage 3. Caught up in that wreck immediately. Great car, out. Really stunk. One of the worst I've ever felt after a race as a Bowman fan. Man, he really had a shot to get that W, especially the way it turned out. That 48 car was better than the 22 car, without a doubt. But you got to get through those pit crew issues. If you can, Kansas, definitely a better racetrack for him than Texas. Maybe his best track over his career. His best oval race in the next gen. Fall 2022 here at Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
Laps in that race. Finished P4. That was the most recent Bubba Wallace win. He won that in the 45 car. All the way back to 2019, before Bowman had a victory. Gets his third of 3 P2 finishes in a row that year. Should have won that race. Brad Keselowski comes up, makes a pass in the last bit there. I really think that this 48 car, between right now and when we drive out of that Pocono parking lot in June, 48 will have been to victory lane. I just don't want you guys to miss out on the profits, because the odds are going to be right around this spot. They're going to be higher odds than how this 48 car is running. I want you guys to be in that Scrooge McDuck pile of money with us on the 48 car. Don't miss it.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm certainly not as confident on the outright as you, but I still have 0.8 of a unit.
Like I said, you've got the half that's reasonable.
Yeah,
you've got that half, and then I'm adding in the half delusional fan, ally purple tinted glasses on a Bowman bet. Half and half, good blend this week. Going to be great in the Heartland.
Yeah, no, and that's still usually more than I would put on I would usually on a 25-1, I'd maybe put a quarter of a unit on this, but I feel pretty good to almost throw a full unit on this. Also in the chat here, we have Club saying, we tuned in just for Elliot. So few Bowman fans.
How about that?
So yeah, I like that. I appreciate that. Home state track for a guy Kush. All right, little Kansas Kush out there. I appreciate that. Also some earlier comments that I didn't get to that I wanted to pull up here as well. John, he's picking Reddick this weekend. Not bad. I like that call here. Andrew B saying, I kind of like the speed I saw from Busher. Was close to winning last year at Kansas. He was.
Close. You closer than that?
Yeah. I don't hate Busher at all. Actually, he's been a guy I've been pretty hot. 25-1 for Busher too. That's not a bad look, Andrew. Andrew's a sharp though, so I'm not surprised by that. And then our guy Blazed Wolf, number 8, saying, I gotta get some Busch Light Apple, dude. Come on. Come on. I'm telling you. Where'd you find it, Elliot? Where, you going in back alleyways? You trading behind bars here? What's going on? How you doing this?
So there's social media is your friend. I've been in a Facebook group since it first came out. They share where you can find it, where it goes, and everything like that. I made the hour trek from Pittsburgh down to Wheeling, West Virginia. Picked it up at a couple spots there to get my stock, but it's coming around. Don't worry, it's limited. But it'll make its way back out there. Apparently, Busch Light Lime coming in June as well. That'll be kind of interesting. Well, if you've watched this show, listen to this show for literally any amount of time, it's a Busch Light show for sure. Seth takes a sip of an IC Light.
Yeah. Hey, Pennsylvania Light beer, baby. I got to represent. So I want to throw one more thing out there before we move out of the outrights. You don't have any outrights, I don't believe, besides Bowman currently placed.
Nope.
I have one that I'm keeping an eye on. Elliot didn't make me a banner for it because it's not an official play yet. So just Kyle Larson. Keep your head on a swivel for Kyle Larson this weekend. I wanted to get invested with him, but the 4-1 on the outright, the -150 in head-to-heads, it just wasn't worth the squeeze in my opinion. But I think these lines could potentially move after practice and qualifying if he doesn't go out and unload super, super quick. I already actually see a +425 now sitting up there. Elliot, I saw it right before the show. I only saw 4-1 earlier, +425 over on DK. So maybe there's a chance before we even end this program that I am down on Larson. Larson's second in the projections this week. He'd easily be number one if he didn't have that tire going down last year on lap 19 of that fall race, putting him in the wall. And as noted, he's tied with Bowman in second best with next-gen average finish, 7.2. In the spring, in this race last year, don't get twisted. Kyle Larson was the best car, number one in average position, number one in top 15 laps inside the top 15, number one in drive rating, everything. At the comps, he's brilliant as well. So Kyle Larson is someone we definitely need to be looking at, specifically after, dominating, winning Homestead. And then last week too, didn't have the best car, but average running position of 3.1. So the guy's fast right now. I want Kyle Larson on my car come Sunday, hopefully.
Yeah, if that Homestead race was about 5 laps shorter, he wouldn't have won that one. But no, with Larson, I couldn't agree more. It's just that number is just brutal. If this were guy in Xfinity and trucks that number, like I said, I bet last week I bet a -150 for Larson in Xfinity. It's just on any given Cup weekend, especially lately at the high speed intermediates, we have seen some quote unquote upset winners in the sense of guys who we know are in good equipment, who we know can win there. Your Chastains of the world, Josh Berry at Vegas, that would be considered upset winners in the books. A 4-1 on a guy like Larson when there's 17 cars, maybe 13 to 17 cars that can realistically win, it's too short. But if he does have a crummy P&Q, starts 10th, mid-teens, that goes up to 5, 6, maybe plus 650. I'd really like the 5 a lot more than I do at the plus 400.
Let's go into placement props and first one, just kind of get this out of the way. There's an even money. There's a plus.
So I bet 365. This is still as of this afternoon at plus 130. That's what I'm down on it on. I see you put a hefty amount there on the even money, and I would like it on the even money, but it is still at least of this afternoon plus 130 at bet 365 and maybe another book too, but definitely on
Okay. My bet 365 has been a little sketchy lately. It's been crashing on me, so I didn't pull it up this week, honestly. So that's on me for missing that. Yeah, I got him even money at DraftKings, and this has been bet all the way down at DraftKings to -140. I still saw it also even money over at our friends from Pittsburgh as well, BetRivers. But yeah, Bowman top 10. If you can get it plus, wow. Now I feel dumb that's
all right. I had a couple of those too. I have a couple of those bets that'll go in the Discord that I think I could have got a better price on. I'm down on this too because if this car finishes the race, it's going to finish top 10. If they don't get involved in a wreck with some sort of engine issue, the same stupid stuff that's been happening to the 48 all year. If this car finishes the race, it will be from position 1 to 10, 100%.
You got a couple other top 10s here, Elliot. What are they?
Yeah, so I like Austin Dillon for a top 10. We were just talking about books. He's in the BetMGM number 3 car. Got that at 5-1 on BetMGM. I think that's one of those numbers that I think were a little better elsewhere, but it just all came together there with the 3. And Austin Dillon has run better both at Kansas and in general than we normally think of. We talk about RCR, Austin Dillon. He's the butt of a lot of jokes too, just like his brother. But Kansas has been a pretty decent track for him. Shout out to iFantasy Race for these stats over on the Twitter. 7 of the last 9 Kansas races, which does date back pre-next gen, so asterisk there. He's finished between 10th and 14th. And in one of those other 2, he had a flat tire while running 11th. So generally, he flirts around the top 10 here. And there have been a couple wild races in there from this year. He's gone for his 4th straight top 10 this weekend. And that's not, and those kind of finishes too, not entirely outliers. Homestead, he was 13th, pretty close to a top 10. Phoenix, P12, option tire stuff in there, close to a top 10 also. At a 5-1, I'm taking that close to a top 10 in general, close to a top 10 in Kansas. 3 top 10s in a row. Give me that BetMGM car. Little sneaky top 10 finish this week.
Hey, I don't hate it. Austin Dillon, he does have some redeemable qualities at some of these 1.5 miles. So I don't hate that at 5-1. Give me a Zane Smith top 10, 7-1 at DraftKings. And actually, there's now a 10-1 out there at FanDuel. It wasn't out there earlier this week. Wow. So I would much rather take that. But still, I even like the 7-1 just because I've seen this go off as low as 4-1 out there at Caesars. So I'm taking the value with the 7 here. And if you know anything about Zane Smith, folks, this guy loves Kansas. 8 top 10s, 5 top 5s, 1 win in 9 Truck Series starts. He's automatic when we come to the Heartlands, man. And we also saw this translate to the Cup Series in the fall. Had a 14.5 average running position at Kansas, 13th best on the day, 11th best driver rating, finished 10th in that race. Also, finished 17th last week at Kansas, 11th at Homestead, 23rd at Las Vegas. So, like, he's kind of peaking, right? Like, he hasn't got there yet, but he's just, he's got a foot in the door for a top 10 at these mile and a half. So now that he's in the best equipment of his career, Front Row Motorsports, which has shown decent speed as of late, I think we're on the verge of maybe like a late to mid-season Zane Smith breakout. And if we're going to see it, why not start it here in Kansas?
Yeah, I certainly agree, man. Zane Smith in Front Row, definitely sneaky. That's the same sort of guys right around that top 10. I dig it, and I dig a 60-1 on the top 4 too that you got.
Yeah, 60-1 on the top 4. This is the smallest of sprinkles, 0.1 of 5 of a unit. I went about half a unit on that top 10, so just a tiny sprinkle here. But if you want an absolute gainer, go ahead and sprinkle on this, because this is going to go off for as low at some other books. I think at DK had it 40-1. So I'm going to take the 60-1 again from our friends out in Pittsburgh. Shout out BetRivers. And our highest projected Fords this weekend, Blaney in 7th, Busher in 10th, Logano in 11th. I finally hit last week in the top Ford market, so maybe I'm feeling myself a little bit, Elliot, but I'm going to continue to speculate with a manufacturer that has had some surprising ponies finish out front this season. Give me Zane Smith, top Ford, 60-1 at BetRivers.
Man, those long shots are sometimes worth it. Like I said, 12-1 on Chastain for a top Chevy. And wasn't Eric Jones the top Toyota last week? Did anyone finish ahead of him?
Yes, and I bet him 20-1 the week prior at Talladega. Wow. I was like, if there was a, but yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, I got one more placement prop. Josh Berry, top 10. I've got a lot of top 10s on the card this week. Come in the Discord to see all the ones I sprinkled on. I've got quite a few, but Berry's the other one that I wanted to shout out here. Like I said, we talked about him earlier. He's had Penske tier speed on the intermediates. He's been a Penske tier car produced in that shop, and it's been solid. Multiple good runs. The win at Vegas, crashed last week while running in the lead, hit that bump a little too hard. It feels like he's kind of similar to Bowman when everything goes well, when they don't have pit road issues, when they don't hit a bump and crash out of the lead, running behind a lap car. The car and the driver are very capable. You look just back to last fall. In the model, he doesn't shine. He's down at P19, but it's limited cup experience combined with, if you remember last fall, lap 1, that Bed Bath & Beyond, I think, number 4 car gets spun out into the inside wall on the first lap of the race. The car's fine. The tires just aren't inflated. The DVP rules that were a complete mess at the end of last year that have since been changed, that, like I said, just 4 flat tires on the number 4 car would have been able to bring him back to pit road, get back out there, get a better finish than dead last. Wouldn't let him do it because of the DVP. So Barry, not quite as good on the model, but certainly has had a better year this year. +1, again, another one of those lower in other markets, but still, as of earlier today, +130 on Bet365.
Yeah, well, I am if you guys have watched this show for any amount of time, I'm a stat nerd. Like, I rely very heavy on statistics. Josh Berry is one of those guys this season, the rest of the way, especially on mile and a half tracks. We kind of just have to throw out what the projections are putting him out for, because he just didn't have the speed last year in that car for SHR, and he has it now. So I don't like this number for Berry. I would like probably closer to 2-1, maybe a +175 I could maybe get down on. It's just tough because you have to look at him as a 4th Penske car now. And for any of the 3 Penske cars, you're not really going to see those numbers for a top 10. Yeah, I know. My thing is, though, like, as I said earlier on Penske, like, they haven't won the pole here since 2018. I don't expect them to unload quick. I don't expect Berry to qualify. I mean, he has qualified well in mile and a half. Yeah. He just did. So maybe, yeah, you have an argument. You have an argument too.
And even, I'm not betting for the hour here. He can start 17th and have a couple lucky passes at the end. I just think
there's a 50-50 chance I'm getting a better number after qualifying. That's all my only.
That's not bad. I don't blame you for that. I'll give you the mulligan. Wait till after qualifying. We'll throw it in the Discord Saturday.
Yeah.
Hey, how about that Berry bet?
Maybe we'll do a little maybe like a 6-pack of Busch Light Apple or something. Maybe we'll do a little wager. We'll set a line depending what he qualifies.
You still owe me a couple drinks from a couple bets, so you're gonna.
Oh yeah.
You get out there. We're gonna have to go to the liquor store and might have to up those bets a little bit.
That's all right. I'm an honest man, so I will always pay my dues. Elliot, over to you. Round us out here in the Cup Series before we flip over to the trucks to end the show.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy hearing my voice because I've got a matchup, a group, and a special for you. A lot of talk in the comments about 2311. We haven't really touched on them a lot. This is our opportunity to do so, and it's me fading them. Ross Chastain at +135 over on BetMGM over Tyler Reddick, whose number is at -175. That is way too big of a disparity for how comparable they've been. You go to our model, Reddick is just ahead of him. P4 with 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Ross is 6 at 73%. That's more like what you're going to get, that minus 115 apiece or something. Not this big of a disparity, especially for a guy who is the defending winner at Kansas versus a guy who finished mid-pack there.
23-11 was stinky here at Kansas. Yep. And I remember because we bet him, but I bet him both times and they burned me.
Yeah, that was my point, is Kansas is no longer the 23-11 playground. People have caught up to them. Reddick last year, P20 and P25, just completely out of it. Ross was P19 in the spring, but then, of course, the fall winner, and has more next-gen top 10s than Tyler Reddick here, which is surprising. Of course, a couple RCR years there, but one of those RCR years was a win at Texas for him, not at Kansas. My fault. But anyway, best average finish on the last 4 mile-and-a-half tracks dating back to the playoffs last year. Ross Chastain, 3.8. Includes that Kansas win, includes that P2 last week. The only drawback, like we talked about, Trackhouse does kind of stink on Saturdays sometimes. They're going to have to work and make those adjustments to get to Sunday, but they may not have to do that well because, again, no longer 23-11's playground. I'm taking Chastain over Reddick. That's some nice plus money, which is rare on a guy like Chastain in a matchup like this.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's really hard for me to bet someone who is ranked above someone in the projections. But however, at plus, he shouldn't be plus money. This should be closer to a pick 'em. I agree. This should be closer to pick 'em.
It's one of those deals. You got to find the numbers. You got to find the routines. It's Reddick, obviously better in the model. That was the first thing I brought up. But that much of a disparity.
Yep.
I'm taking the plus money on a guy when it's that close. Ryan Preece also, I noticed Fanatics and Bet365 both have the same groups this week. I don't know if that's a normal thing. I don't normally look at Fanatics. I took a look at it, bet it there, could have bet it on the bankroll. I already had in Bet365. That's not important. What is important, Ryan Preece in Group F against the number 77 of Hocevar at plus 150. Preece is in the middle at plus 250. And then Gregson and Corey Heim are at plus 375. This feels pretty easy to pick the 60 here. I know he and the 77 are probably going to be better than the 4 and the 67. I feel like the 77 is more apt to have issues, more apt to have the good old Carson Hocevar crash out that we've seen at times this year that caught up Ryan Preece last week in Texas. Not the first time that's happened between those two guys. We've already talked up Ryan Preece a good bit earlier in the show. Good speed this year. P3 at Vegas, P9 at Homestead, and again, ran really well at Texas before both of them crashed out, as I mentioned. I'm taking Preece with the better number here, plus 250 over plus 150. I think this is not a great group for them to be in, that they've really got the favorite. I've seen Hocevar and Preece with better drivers on other books and other groups. It's kind of an unfair matchup here. I like the 60.
Yeah, I do too. It's interesting because Ryan Preece is someone like I just want to continue to find ways to expose myself to him in the betting markets. And usually I feel like most weeks I can't. And now, like, FanDuel must have just re-released all their top 10 odds because now there's a plus 250 for a top 10. I think I might just rather, and that wasn't out there.
I don't think FanDuel had top. This must have been very recent.
Okay.
I think this morning FanDuel hadn't had placement.
Okay. So yeah, there's a plus 250. So I think I'd rather just go bet the top 10 for the same number at this point. But earlier in the week when there was only a plus 180 out there for him. Yeah, I agree with that. Take us home. One last Cup Series bet for you, Elliot.
Yeah, but hey, at that number, everyone run over to FanDuel and see what you can get for the top 10s there. Clearly better at Bet365 also. The specials, these were some that I just threw a sprinkle on, or just one that I included here. Winning number over 20.5 at plus 155 of the Caesars. I was going to say, these are the specials that I have. I'm not nearly as confident as some of these drivers. But at a plus money like this, you get some contenders. 21 of Barry, 22 of Logano, 23 Bubba Wallace, if you have faith in 23-11 at least. 24 William Byron, a guy we haven't really talked about much tonight.
Yeah, that's true.
You get the 45. If you have the 23-11 faith, you get the 48, who are both on this week. And a couple semi-reasonable upset options. The 60 of Preece, 71 of McDowell, 77 of Hocevar, and the 99 of Daniel Suarez. All potential winners. I had kind of a quick finger. I bet this before I kind of did the research. Luckily, I didn't put much on it. I'm not confident in it. I'm confident enough in it that I brought it up on the show. Definitely worth the coin flip on the well, not quite a coin flip, but close enough to a coin flip for me to at least bring it up for discussion. Yeah,
you got a lot of heavy hitters, but I'm just not betting against Kyle Larson and like Denny Hamlin and Ross and Blaney. Like there's 6 guys in the top 10 of our model that can beat you here. So it's a no from me, dog. But I appreciate it either way. What do you say we go ahead and pivot over to the Truck Series?
Yep, we got a couple truck bets apiece, 2 apiece, I believe, and there is no better place to start than your guy right here.
Yeah, so if you're betting an outright on Saturday night for the truck race, Elliot, I think you have to go Corey Heim, in my opinion. He won both these races last season. He's won both comp tracks this season. He dominated Vegas, 42 laps led, dominated Texas last week as well, 96 laps led. He would have also won at Homestead as well, but Kyle Larson beat him because his truck kept shutting off after leading 78 laps and still somehow finished third. Last year specifically, Corey Heim in the spring, average running position of 2.1, led 79 laps, spent nearly the entire race inside the top 15, 99.3% of the laps. In the fall, not as dominant, but he started 33rd and then had to make his way all the way up to the front to win that race as well. 4.1 average position despite starting in the back, 64 laps led. Dude, like Corey Heim is dog walking the field in the truck series in a way we haven't seen in a long time. He's led 442 laps, 255 more than the next driver. It's one of the only ways you can bet him. So give me Heim time to get his 4th win of the season in the first 9 races, plus 165. You can get it at BetMGM. You can get it at ESPN Bet as well. You can get it pretty much everywhere right around for that price. I'm willing to do it here.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You're right. Corey Heim, there's really no reason he should still be in the trucks. He should at least be full-time Xfinity. He's one of the guys that I had in mind when I was talking about could Keselowski realize that now is maybe a good time to step out and get a good young driver in. I know Corey Heim has a development deal with Toyota in 2311. He's in that 67 in the Cup Series this weekend. But if Ford can offer him a Cup ride and Toyota can't, usually that moves some things around. Anyway, the point is Corey Heim too good. We'll be racing against some Cup drivers, and you're still taking them there too. In terms of outrights, though, Heim last week was the winner. And if there weren't 4 issues on that 7 truck, Carson, host of our battery issues throughout the night, was running P2 when it really started to fade, ended up not getting a good finish there. Like I said, he would have been right up there with Heim. Texas is a great track for him, and so is Kansas. In the 3 Truck Series races he's ran here, at least his last 3. I don't remember if it's only 3 or not. A crash in the middle race sandwiched between a P2 and a P6 in those races led 28 and 32 laps. We know that Heim's the main contender. We know it's tough to bet an outright other than him in the Truck Series. His Spire teammate in this race, William Byron, in that 07 truck. I don't think the 07 is going to be any better than the 7. We know that Hocevar is going to be a kid who's hungry to do better with hopefully a full-powered truck. At a 7-1 of the guys who are the non-Heims of the field, give me some Hocevar.
You're doing it again, dude. You're outthinking the room, Elliot. You did it last week. Just come with me and Corey Heim. I know it's short, but it's profitable, brother. Let's ride.
In the Xfinity and trucks, you can take the short numbers. And I took a minus 150 in the Xfinity series last week, and it hit. That's obviously going to make me feel good about drinking the juice.
Yeah, I almost thought about parlaying Larson with Heim last week, and I just couldn't take the win leg as a minus 139. But look, I should have. We've been a nice payday. So
yeah, no doubt.
No, I don't look. I like the 7-1 number a lot better this week than I liked the 4-1 number you got last week. And I think part of that is William Byron being in this race. And speaking of William Byron, we talked about a little bit ago how Kyle Larson is one of the only guys to beat Corey Heim this year on a 1.5 mile track, and that was only because Heim's truck was shutting off during the last half of that race, and he just barely beat him, by the way, too. Bob Pockris reported this week that he thought Kyle Larson was supposed to be subbing for Connor Zilic. Kyle Larson said that. However, in the Spire 07, it was William Byron on the entry list. And as good as William Byron is as a driver, he is not Kyle Larson, folks, especially in the lower series as of late, where he hasn't won a race there since 2022. And before that, it was when he was full-time in Xfinity at JRM that he's won a race in Xfinity or truck before 2022. So I know he hasn't run like a ton of races in truck as of late, but he does have 4 races in the past 3 seasons. Those have resulted in an 8.0 average finish. Keep in mind, 3 of those races were with KBM, Kyle Busch Motorsports equipment before Spire bought it. So, you can call it the same equipment if you want. I will call it different though. Different manufacturer. It was different, but in this 07 truck earlier this season at Martinsville, I know a lot of people were down on William Byron to go out and win that race. He started P13. He had no stage finish better than 8th, finished P14. I just can't believe that. Like, I get it's William Byron, and I get that he's number one in our betting model for trucks, but when it for Cup, but when it comes to trucks, man, I'm just stunned that BetRivers is matching these guys up. I was so happy to find Byron up against Heim, and at a very bettable price too, minus 139. Like, you have to pay a little bit of juice here, but what does Rod always say, man? Like you only pay the juice if you lose. So I'm all in here, 4 units, Corey Heim over our guy William Byron.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with this at all. Like I said, I like any way to get in on Heim. It's just he's, very rarely do they have the issues, but always good to hedge yourself a little bit. But I never mind going in on Corey Heim. If you're going to go all in on a guy, may as well be him there. And yeah, the Spire truck's moving and shaking. We didn't talk about news this week, and a completely unfounded rumor that I just read a couple tweets about. But, but I heard BJ McLeod may be in a Spire truck at some point in the next couple weeks. I forget, but he may be able to get some good equipment there and run it. That'd be fun to watch. We will be the first to report. Well, we won't be the first, but on your Thursday night, we will be reporting on it if it's announced for sure. Maybe a Wednesday night next week is North Wilkesboro All-Star Race Truck Series. We're planning on doing that on Wednesday. One more bet to close out the show for me. Another matchup. Caden Honeycutt at minus 105 over Raja Caruth. This was over on ESPN Bet. I also have a tiny little sprinkle on the Caden Honeycutt outright too. Kansas is a good track for this kid. P4 both races last year. Raja, a decent intermediate track driver, just one top 10 here. It's definitely a tough battle. Raja's been really good the last couple of weeks. P7 at Vegas, P3 last week, just barely. Again, that little 3-wide timing line, whatever that was. Raja could have had control of that race at the end. But this is, again, it's close to even money. I think Raja's the favorite in this matchup at a minus 115, minus 125. I'm going to go with Honeycutt. I like this kid a lot. I do think that first win is coming this year. They've had a few races too where it's just, if they can put everything together, it'll work really well for this 45 truck. We know niche trucks can win when good drivers are in those trucks. Honeycutt's one of those good drivers. Definitely like him to beat the 71. And like I said, just the slightest little sprinkle on that outright too, I think was 30-1.
Yeah, Honeycutt is a guy who stuck out here at Kansas. I bet him at both Kansas races last year and was profitable because of it. He's just hard to trust right now. That's the thing, right? Like, he hasn't got the finishes he just deserved as of lately, but he should not be the dog in this matchup, in my opinion. So I'm with you there. I think this is great value. It's one I looked at and considered myself. Might give it another peek. We'll see how daring I'm feeling, how bold I'm feeling going into the weekend. But Elliot, great show tonight, man. Can't thank everyone for riding along with us in the comments. The live chat was absolutely popping. If we guys did not get to your questions, I'm seeing some more coming in here from Andrew. We do have to cut out here for our time requirements to hit our radio syndication requirements, but come over to the Discord. You can hop over there. You can get your questions answered. We will certainly expand on that. But want to thank everyone. Easiest way to support us here, Elliot, you know it, man. It's giving this video a thumbs up. It's subscribing to the channel. We got some great stuff coming for you, including a little over a month from now. We'll be up in the great area of Pocono for a little on-track coverage.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. Pocono weekend, always exciting. Again, shout out to the YouTube IBT Racing Family Discord. You can talk to us anytime you want. I'll sit up all night and talk racing with you guys. I don't care. That's the beauty of it. Shout out talking West Tennessee as well for riding along with us. We appreciate each and every one of you that take the ride down the back road with us week in, week out. Again, look for us Wednesday night next week, same time, same place. Talk some North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race in the Truck Series here at In Between Media's The Back Road.